Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name's Liz, and in today's video we are going to do a winter themed tier tray. I absolutely love making these videos for you, and this has to be my all-time favorite tier tray DIYs. These all turned out super cute and I cannot wait to share them with you. And if you stay tuned till the end of the video, I will show you my whole tier tray all set up with all the DIYs on it. So let's go ahead and jump on in. For this DIY, I'm going to take my Craft Smart stain in brown, and then I'm also going to take this scrap piece of wood. This was about 3 inches long, 3/4 of an inch thick, and then about an inch in width, and I did drill 2 small holes on either end. You could also use those tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. I wanted something a little bit bigger than that, so I just went to my garage and found a scrap piece of wood. I'm going to go ahead and stain this block in the Craft Smart stain, and then I'm just going to use a paper towel to wipe off all the excess. I'm going to take this garland that I got from Hobby Lobby during the Christmas season. I'm going to measure out how long that I want it. This is going to be a little swing for my tiered tray. I want it to hang from the first level down to the middle level, so I just measured about where I wanted it to hit. I just pushed those ends through those little holes, and then I'm going to take my pliers and just twist those ends up and kind of clamp them together so that they're secure and they're not going to come back through the hole. Now, to go along with that, if you know me and you've watched my tier tray videos, you know I have to have a gnome for my tier tray. So I found this faux fur at Hobby Lobby for $3.49, and I'm just going to use a little styrofoam ball for the gnome's body. I trace out how much fur I need, and then everybody said to cut out your fur using a small pair of scissors, which I finally did. You can be so proud of me that I upgraded from, you know, doing it the hard way to just using the scissors. So you're just going to cut just the material in the back, making sure that you're not cutting through to the fur. To wrap my gnome's body, I'm just going to take this scrap piece of fabric that I had, and I'm going to wrap it all the way around that styrofoam ball. And then you could use a rubber band, really anything that you want. I just took some string and I wrapped it around the top and secured the fabric in place. Once I've got it all secured, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess fabric. Now for the shape of the hat, I just got this brown craft paper. It's a little bit more sturdy than regular paper, and I just hot glued it into the shape of a cone, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut off the bottom piece so that it's all nice and level. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue his beard down to the body. I want to make sure that it's up far enough that when I put the hat on, it's going to cover that top part of his beard. Now for the hat, I'm going to take this green felt that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to start hot gluing it down to the hat. I just kind of rolled it on there and then hot glued it in place. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the brown paper. I'm going to trim off the excess on the bottom, and I wanted to make sure that that brown paper wasn't going to show. I did make sure that the felt was a little bit longer than the paper was. I'm going to hot glue his hat to his body. I just added some hot glue in the hat, and then I'm just going to push it on top of his body. For the nose, I am just going to use a small bead that I got off of Amazon. I'm going to hot glue that right into the middle of his body, and then I'm also going to put a little dab of hot glue on the top of the nose and pull that felt down over his nose. Now to jazz him up just a little bit more, I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to tie a knot in the back and then just do a random crisscross pattern on his hat and then just secure again with a knot in the back. And that is it for this super adorable gnome and swing. I absolutely love this idea for my tiered tray. I can imagine making a swing for every season for a different seasoned gnome. I'm so excited for this. For this next DIY, I'm going to take this sign that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to go ahead and start taking it apart. And a huge thank you to Emily from Emily Long Designs. She was kind enough to send me some winter files that she had created. They are absolutely beautiful. I'll link her Etsy in the description box below. If you're looking for farmhouse designs, she has absolutely gorgeous ones. Emily was also kind enough to give me a coupon code for all of you guys. So if you head over to her shop, use the code Liz Moore for 20% off. It's good for everything in the shop and it has no end date. So once I got my sign all taken apart, I'm going to take that back piece and I'm going to trace it out on a piece of scrapbook paper. I'm going to cut that scrapbook paper out and then using a glue stick, I'm going to go ahead and secure it to the back of my sign. For the frame, I'm going to go ahead and take my Waverly chalk paint and plaster and I'm going to give that a good 2 coats using my heat gun in between coats. It was a little bit difficult to cover up that blue, so I made sure to take my time and put multiple coats on there. Now I'm going to take that design that Emily sent to me. I think this is absolutely adorable. I love all the words on there. It just explains my kind of winter perfectly. Hot chocolate, fuzzy socks, fireplace cuddles, and good books. Yes, I love it. That is what I am all about. So when I saw that, I knew that I had to do a DIY with it. So again, I'll link her Etsy shop and her social media down in the description box below. I'll also link the bundle that this came in down below so that you can go straight to it and get this design for yourself. You don't necessarily need a cutting machine to make cute signs like this. You can download these designs, print them out, and then use a transfer method by scribbling on the back and then flipping it over to the front and outlining all of your words and going back in and drawing them in. Or you could use carbon transfer paper. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy a Cricut to have cute designs like this. All you really need is a printer. I'm going to cut my design out into a circle so that it can fit down into my sign, and then I'm going to rub that decal onto my paper, remove the transfer tape, and this sign is done. I absolutely love the way that it turned out. I was able to pop the backing right back into the frame, no problem. And I love that I was able to take a $1 item from the Dollar Tree and turn it into something that you could purchase at Home Goods or Hobby Lobby, just something that looks way more expensive than $1. For this DIY, I cut one of those long skinny signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I cut them into 3 4-inch pieces, and I'm going to start by painting them with my Waverly chalk paint in moss. That's kind of where I got the theme for today's video, using that moss color. I love this color for winter. It just feels so woodsy and like I'm walking through a forest in the snow, and I just loved it. So I went ahead and painted all 3 blocks in that color. I did have to do a couple of coats to get that blue to cover up. Once I've got those all dry, I'm going to go ahead and use my hot glue to stack these all on top of each other. I did use a wood glue hot glue so that they would stay stuck together for a really long time. So I'm just going to use my paint and kind of touch up where I need it. And then I cut this decal out using my Cricut. This one was designed by me, so I will have a free printable for this one in my description box below. Again, just using my Expressions vinyl transfer tape, I cut each word out individually, and then I just started applying everything to the right side. So I just put warm and then winter and wishes on the last one. Just rip those on there and then peeled that transfer tape off. Once I've got those on there, I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to wrap it around my little faux book stack, and then I'm going to hot glue it together in the back. I'm going to take some twine. I'm going to tie a simple little bow. And then I'm going to hot glue that right to the front of that ribbon, cut off the excess, and that's it for this project. For this next one, I'm going to take a little pail that you can get in a 2-pack from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and ink, and I'm going to give the entire thing a good 2 coats. And then I did paint about halfway down inside the pail itself. I painted both of the ends of the little handle because you would be able to see those, and I wanted them to match with the rest of the pail. For the rest of the handle, I took some twine. I added just a touch of hot glue to one end, and then I'm just going to go through and start wrapping that twine all the way around the handle till I get to the other side. And then when I get to the other side, I'm just going to add another dot of hot glue, wrap that twine around a couple more times, and then cut off the excess. I am going to reattach the handle back over to the pail. Then I'm going to take this chalk marker from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to write 5 cents on the front. Then I'm going to add some white pom-poms to the pail to make them look like snowballs, and I thought this was so stinking cute. For this DIY, you're going to take some wooden dowels that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I grabbed 3 of them out, and I'm going to use my miter shears to start cutting those dowels apart. I am going to make a ladder, so you're just going to measure how tall you want your ladder to be. You're going to cut 2 pieces for the sides of the ladder, and then you're going to measure 4 pieces for the rungs of the ladder. And this is all about how big you want your ladder to be, how tall, how skinny. I just measured out from the bottom tier of my tray to the middle tier, and then use those measurements to make my ladder. So once I've got all 6 pieces cut out, I'm going to take my sandpaper to smooth down all the edges of each piece. Now I'm going to start by hot gluing my ladder together. To make the sides as even as possible, I just used another piece of a dowel to get them lined up straight. And then I'm going to add some hot glue to each side of the dowels, and I'm going to hot glue those down to the sides of my ladder. And I'm going to repeat that step for all 4 rungs. Now to give it a little bit more strength and sturdiness, I'm going to take some twine and I'm just going to start wrapping them around each rung on each end where they're connecting with those side pieces. I'm going to tie a knot, add some glue, kind of do a crisscross pattern to it, and then secure the end with some more hot glue. And I just repeated those steps for each side of each rung of my ladder. Once I have that done, I'm going to take this little wreath that you can get from Hobby Lobby. It was $1.99. I got it 50% off, so I paid $1 for this. I'm going to use some twine to loop it around the wreath and then tie it to the top of my ladder. And that is it for this project. Now again, if you've seen my tiered tray videos, you know I have to have a beaded garland on my tiered tray for every season. A gnome and a garland, it's just a must in my opinion. You have to have one. I feel like a garland just adds so much more texture and length to your tiered tray, so I had to have one. So I am going to go ahead and paint my beads that I got from Amazon with my Waverly chalk paint in moss. I took 15 of these beads, and then I'll be using 15 natural wood beads. I just left them in their natural wood color. I did not paint them. And then I'm going to take one of these wooden trees that I got from the Dollar Tree. It had a little star on the top. I didn't want that, so I just took a popsicle stick to make a straight line on that tree to cut that little star off, and I just used a blade that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now I sanded those rough edges down, and I did take that tree out to my garage and drill a hole in the top of the tree. So I'm just going to start assembling my garland, just doing a pattern of green in the natural, green, natural. You can see what I'm doing here, and I'm just stringing it onto a piece of jute. So in total, I had 30 beads on this garland. Now I'm going to take my Craftsmart stain in brown, and I'm going to stain the front and back of this tree with that stain using a paper towel to wipe off the excess. Now I'm just going to tie a double knot on one end of my garland to that tree. So then to make my tassel, I'm going to take a piece of cardboard. This is about 5 inches, and I'm going to wrap my twine around that cardboard about 15 times. Once I've got that all wrapped around, I'm going to slowly remove it from the cardboard. I'm going to take a piece of this ribbon, measure out to the length of the tassel. I'm just going to wrap the ribbon on top of the twine tassel. Then I'm going to take another piece of twine and start tying it around the top portion of your tassel. And then I'm going to wrap that twine around the top portion probably about 5 or 6 times, and then I'll just tie a knot in the back. And then to finish off the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of those loops, and then I'm just going to trim the entire thing, including the ribbon, so that it's all nice and even. I'm going to go ahead and string my tassel through the other end of my garland, tie it in a knot, and then that is it for my winter garland. For this DIY, I'm going to take 2 popsicle sticks. I'm going to start by cutting both of the ends off so you have a flat end. I'm going to take this galvanized piece of scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. You can get them in just the single sheets. I'm going to cut out a little square, and then I'm going to start folding it back and forth so it has galvanized metal ridges to it. And you're going to cut 4 pieces out just like that. I'm going to take my hot glue and hot glue one of the ends on. Now you'll want to add your main scrapbook paper to your popsicle stick before you add these little galvanized pieces on. So just skip that step and do this step first. So I'm just taking this scrapbook paper. Again, I got this paper in a pack from Hobby Lobby, and I am going to measure it out so that I have 1 piece for each of my popsicle sticks. I'm going to use my glue stick to glue down the scrapbook paper on top of the popsicle stick. And then once those are dry, I'm just taking my sandpaper to smooth out all the edges of that scrapbook paper, anything that was hanging over, just getting that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my little galvanized pieces to each end of the popsicle sticks. Now, I was so not in frame when I tried doing this, but you're just going to trim the paper to the popsicle sticks. So where the 2 rounded sides, you're going to cut that paper into a round shape, just like the popsicle stick. And then for your other sides, you're just going to cut them into a square like they are on the other ends. So if you can't tell by now, we are making skis. So I'm going to take these 2 skewer sticks, I'm going to cut them down to size, and then again I'm going to take my Craft Smart stain in brown and I'm going to stain both of the skewer sticks. Once those are dry, I'm going to take 2 small beads that fit pretty snugly onto the skewer sticks. I'm just going to put those right at the top. I'm going to hot glue my skis together in a cross. And then for the bottom of those poles, I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to tie a knot to it and then just wrap it around a couple of times and then retie it in another knot to secure that in place. Now to attach everything together, I'm going to take some more twine. I am going to cross those poles right in the middle of the skis, and then I'm going to wrap the twine around the middle of it just a couple of times, bring it to the front, and then tie a double knot in the front. And that's it for my popsicle stick skis. For this DIY, I'm going to take these little wood branches that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I just went through and pulled out a bunch. I wanted to make a couple little wood piles out of them, so I just went through and found 6 pieces that matched up pretty well together. Now, I wanted these to look more like birch wood, so I took my Waverly chalk paint in white and gave all 6 pieces a heavy dry brushing. I didn't want to cover them up completely. I wanted some of that wood to show through, some of that texture. So I went through and painted all 6 pieces of wood. Now, to give it a little bit more texture and dimension, I'm going to take some black Waverly chalk paint. I'm going to paint all of the knots really heavily, and then I'm just going to go through and draw little slashes on them, just little paint marks here and there, so it looks more kind of like that birch wood look. If that makes any sense. I tried. I thought it turned out pretty well in the end. You could probably do this a little bit better than I can, but for the first time trying to recreate the look of birchwood, I thought I did a pretty decent job. After those were all dry, I'm just going to stack up my wood and use some twine to tie them all together. I just wrapped it around again in just a very random cross pattern and then secured it again by tying a double knot. And I did this to both pieces of my little wood piles, and I thought these were so cute. I love the look of birchwood. I think it goes perfectly with a winter theme, so I love the way that these turned out. Now this DIY is super easy. You're going to take your leftover bottle brushes. I got some from the Dollar Tree and from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to take these scrap wood circles that I had, and I just wanted to add a little bit more surface area to the bottom of my trees so that they would stand up a little taller, and then also so that I could wrap my burlap around them. So I'm just going to take this burlap that I got from burlapfabric.com. I will link them in the description box below, and I'm just going to cut myself down a piece so that I can wrap it around the bottom. I'm going to take some white string and tie them onto my tree. I just wrapped that string around there a couple times and then did another double knot to secure it in place. And that's all you're going to do to all of your trees. I think this is so cute to add just a little something different to your trees so they're not just sitting there. They look like they're in some sort of basket or bucket with that burlap wrapped around them. I love going to Hobby Lobby during the Christmas time and finding all their little trees wrapped with the burlap bottom. So I was able to recreate my own, and I thought they turned out super cute. For this DIY, you are going to grab yourself a little jar. I grabbed mine from Dollar Tree, from the Valentine section that they had. I removed that label, and then for the lid, I just painted it in my Waverly chalk paint and ink. Although the pink was very cute, it was not going to match my winter theme, so I just gave that a good 2 coats. I am going to fill the jar with this faux snow that I got from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to fill the entire jar full of that faux snow. I'm going to add my lid back onto it, and then I'm going to take this ribbon again and wrap it around that lid, and I'm going to hot glue it in place so that the ribbon is just going over that very bottom rim of the lid. I'm going to tie a simple jute bow, hot glue that to my ribbon, and that's it for my little jar of snow.
You're gone now, but you're coming back. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. You're the traveling kind. It's a known fact. Yeah, I know that. Once you've seen all the things, all the places, I hope it means that you'll come home to me. Once you've traveled the world, all the spaces inside your heart, I hope I'll be your end destination. I hope I'll be your life-changing sensation. All the places, I hope it means that you'll come to me. Once you've traveled the world, all the spaces inside your heart. I hope I'll be your destination.
That's it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I had so much fun making these pieces for you guys. These are honestly my favorite pieces for my tier tray that I have ever made. I am so excited to have these up in my house. Again, make sure you check out Emily's Etsy page. It's linked in the description box below. Make sure you use that code LizMoore to get 20% off your order. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
You're gone now, but you're coming back. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. You're the